all the friends here. I first of all appreciate your willpower to come out of your houses on a windy day like this today to listen to, participate in a program on such a boring topic, Indo-US relations. It's actually a very chewing gum topic. You keep talking about it. Right? But probably FITS is trying to establish itself as a think tank trying to serve the interests of our both countries, India and US. Honestly speaking, in very general terms, India-US relations have always been on a very strong footing. Undoubtedly, there have been ups and downs, but that happens with any relation between two countries. So India-US relations have also seen their ups and downs. But a greatest binding factor in these relations is you all, the diaspora. I don't know what is the exact number today, but close to 4 million people say. This has always been a very important binding factor between our two countries. I was at a conference in Canada at Halifax, a very prestigious conference called the Halifax International Security Forum. This forum discusses America's priorities in the global security scenario. I was a bit surprised to notice that in their 3-day schedule, in the theme papers that was circulated to all the participants, that included me also. I was also a speaker there in 2 sessions. Had India mentioned only once, that too when they mentioned my name. He is from India. Otherwise, absolutely no reference to India. So today when I talk to you, I would not like to take this issue of India-US relations from a standalone thing of relationship between two countries. Because about that you must have heard so much about how much trade happens, how much defense happens, how many trips two-way happen. I would like to put it in the context of our region, or in the global context. Where do they stand today? A simple feeling that occurred to me must occur to all of you, that if we are such strong friends, how come on such an important issue of global security, India does not find any mention? Varghese is here, Varghese won't report it. Varghese. I'm talking to our friends. It's a very important question that we all have to ask, not with a sense of guilt. But what I'm going to tell you today is a sort of contemporary assessment of this relationship. Any relationship that is mutually beneficial is one aspect, but that is beneficial in the larger context of our larger ambitions is another aspect. What is mutually beneficial? Robert Blackwill was US ambassador to India until 2002, until 2001. He described US-India relationship in 2001 as flat like a chapati. I mean, he used to use those words. US-India relationship is today flat like a chapati. It was true. In what context? In 2001, because of sanctions and all, we had that nuclear tests in 1998, followed by Clinton's decision to impose sanctions on India, and all that followed. So there was a flatness in relations. From there, today if you see our defense purchases from US, they exceed $10 billion. In 50 years, we have done a lot of business with US. Probably this will continue. India is trying to grow as a big naval power. We used to depend on erstwhile USSR for our broadly for our most of the defense requirements, but also specifically for our naval requirements. Now today for our blue water navy, if I can give you the numbers, by 2025, 10 years from now, we want to have more than 200 warships. Today we have less than 100. We will depend largely on America also, because America is today's the most powerful global naval power. So this is about mutual interests. So this will continue. But the contemporary realization of our larger interests, larger ambitions, if you see the relationship, you place the relationship in that context, where do we stand? I give you 4 or 5 contemporary realizations for India. Today, what is the realization? Number 1, we are living in a geostrategic region which you call, I prefer to call it as Indo-Pacific region. Many people used to describe it as Asia Pacific, APEC. APEC came into vogue, came into use in 70s when the APEC was formed. Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Union was formed. That time, that was the time when some of these countries like Japan, Korea were rising as big powers. So the West saw some kind of an advantage in building a strong trade relationship with those countries. As a result, APEC came into existence, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. I used to always point out in that APEC, Asia is a landmass, Pacific is an ocean. There is an inherent misnomer in that. It can be Asia-America relationship. So when I use this phrase today, Indo-Pacific, when I use means it's not that I am using it for the first time. Even Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, in one of his recent statements, he used this phrase Indo-Pacific. Because today, it's the Indian Ocean region which has grown into a major powerhouse. So it is the Indian Ocean region plus Pacific Ocean region which is the most happening place region in the world today. There was a time when Pacific Atlantic used to be the global power axis. No longer. It is the Asia Pacific or Indo-Pacific region which is the new global power axis. The global power axis has shifted today. 50% of the global container traffic passes through Indian Ocean. 40% of global bulk cargo passes through Indian Ocean. 50% of the world's energy exports happen through Indian Ocean. It's not just about civilian trade. Today, after America, largest defense spending happens in Indian Ocean region, not in Europe anymore. We spend close to $500 billion annually on defense. Half the world's submarines will be moving there. Indian Ocean mein ghum rahe. It is estimated that half the world's defense aircraft will be overflying Indian Ocean region. So it is a most important region today. We are a part of that most important region, and we are the second largest power in that region. So realization number one today is we are a very important player in the most important region in the world. We are not, 30 years ago it was backward third world. We were a part of the third world, no longer. Realization number two. India today in this region, India has a great responsibility to play. The reason being, those who were supposed to, those who used to think that it is their responsibility to take care of the entire world, are slowly shedding that responsibility. Here, since we are talking about India-US relations, today the mode in which US is placed, mode you understand very well, not mood, mode, is what can be called as withdrawal mode. The recent elections have thrown up a very surprising result here, surprising to me, but for many of you it may not be surprising. There might be many happy souls, many grieving faces also. But the mode that US is switched into is today a sort of withdrawal mode. Under Obama, President Obama, there used to be this big talk about rebalancing of the powers in the region. Obama used to talk about rebalancing of forces in Indo-Pacific region. He talked about Asian pivot. Towards that end, he wanted to bring in a new trade collaboration by the name TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. I said I was at the Halifax conference, where in my panel, very important figure here in America, Harris was there, Pacific Command, Chief of the Pacific Command, Admiral Harris. He said on record that TPP is more or less dead. Why TPP is dead? Because the present President-elect, Mr. Donald Trump, thinks that this is a very wasteful thing to think about it. TPP should not be undertaken, should not be ratified. That is the view President-elect Trump takes. I don't know, because we are all familiar with this poll time rhetoric. बहुत बोला जाता है elections में. Whether that should be taken as the policy, poll time rhetoric will become policy or not is to be seen. We don't know what will happen here. Because many people say that America is heading for many uncertainties and more importantly unpredictability. You don't know what will be the final outcome. So we wish America well, but we do not know whether TPP will be taken up or not. It's today more or less convinced that it is gone, it is dead. If Admiral Harris says it is dead. Remember, TPP is not a big darling of India. We are not a part of it in the first place. We have nothing to do with it. But withdrawal of America from TPP will send such a potent message in the region that after all, US is not going to be a major player in this region. It's going to affect the so-called rebalancing in the region. It's going to affect the power equations in the region. So it brings us the second realization that when it comes to regional affairs of this most important region of which we are a constituent, it's going to be us, we have to take up that responsibility. This region needs to be probably taken care of by us only. This is my second realization. Then third, by the way, here I must mention that I was reading Time magazine while going to Halifax in the flight. Those who read Time can see it. There is a small, very important box item that China has welcomed the election of Trump. It should come as a surprise because his rhetoric was against China. China welcomed it. Why welcomed it? One is its basic courtesy. I mean, after all, America has elected Mr. Trump as president. You should welcome. Everybody welcomes it. I know many Democrats are still not doing that, but then probably they will do it later. That after all, he is their president now. But more importantly, there is a line at the end. A very important strategic expert of China said that now China can be reassured that America will no longer bother us. Because this man is in a withdrawal mode. So they won't bother about what China is doing and all that. They will be bothered more about their own country. They won't bother us. So that puts us into a situation where we have to bother ourselves in the region. I'm talking in the geostrategic context. Now, let me take up the realization number 3. When America talked about rebalancing and when America undertook exercises like TPP, when America started actively mobilizing countries for Malabar exercise, there was a counter effort initiated by China. China has strengthened SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. China took lot of interest. Firstly, in creating Asia Investment and Infrastructure Bank, AIIB. Then the latest Chinese, in between they have worked very hard on OROB. Now they are working on what we all call as RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Let me be clear. RCEP was conceptualized as a response to America's TPP. If you have TPP, I love RCEP. Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is being led by China, which President Xi Jinping is going to champion in the forthcoming APEC summit, is going to have countries from ASEAN and all the big countries in the region, in the Asia Pacific region. This is the region which is the most happening region, remember. Those countries are forming into a regional comprehensive economic partnership. It's going to be a major organization. You know, all these organizations can be called as regional groupings. But then NATO was also a regional grouping. These are regional groupings with a global importance. So RCEP is going to be a global important organization, a trade organization partnership being led by China. So this withdrawal of US from this most important regional scene, if you ask the American leadership about withdrawal, they will say, no, where are we withdrawing? We are very much there. We are giving this much aid to so-and-so country, so-and-so aid to so-and-so country, we are doing exchanges with you, we are doing business with you. That's not participating. Let me be honest. US role in Asian region is slowly, gradually, but definitely it is shrinking, it is reducing. It is their choice. But that realization that hereafter the affairs of the region will be on the countries in the region, which is a good thing also. But that realization has to be there in our minds. Then I will come to the fourth realization. Based on the above three realizations, India, while strengthening its bonds with USA, today, thanks to the efforts of our Prime Minister and President Obama in last 2 years, we have taken these relations to a new height, new level. It's true that we are not allies in the conventional sense. You know, there is a conventional sense where you become allies. We are probably not, in that sense we are not allies. But as Atalji used to say, we are natural allies. US and India, whether you have formally written an agreement to become part of this group or that group, we are not part of NATO, we are not part of any US-led coalition. But nevertheless, we have been natural allies. And that relationship has grown in size and strength in the last 2 years. And I am sure under the new leadership also, this will further grow. Now, people used to have a lot of apprehensions before the elections, that what will happen if Hillary wins? Because Hillary is close to so-and-so country, what will happen to India? No, that time I wrote a small article, not a very, very important point, but I'm just making. India today is at a stage where it is not just going to be a pushover for any country, much less for America. We are there irrespective of who governs America. We are there and we are going to be strong partners. Strong bilateral relations going to be there irrespective of who becomes the president of this country. Because the relationship is such that it cannot be just brushed aside by a new dispensation. So I am sure under President Trump's leadership, this relationship will certainly go forward. But on the larger issue, of larger context of our global role, the realization that should dawn on all of us, and India especially, is now India has to shed its reticence. India is known for its reticence in global affairs. India has to shed that. In the last 2 years, we have done a lot of efforts to shed that reticence in global affairs. We have started taking active role in on many international fora. We were in the forefront at the Paris Climate Summit. We have taken great initiatives like promoting things like yoga globally from the UN platform. The coming years will demand India to be more proactive in playing an important role in the world and especially in the region. I would like to remind all of you a statement that Prime Minister Modi gave when he visited US for the first time as Prime Minister in 2014. There was a joint statement issued by President Obama and Prime Minister Modi. In that, Prime Minister Modi said, India is already assuming her responsibilities in securing the Indian Ocean region. A strong India-US partnership can anchor peace, prosperity and stability from Asia to Africa and from Indian Ocean to the Pacific. It can also help ensure security of the sea links of commerce and freedom of navigation on seas. Now in this, we were referring to our readiness to play a larger role in the region. When we talked about, for example, talked about Asia to Africa, Indian Ocean to Pacific, and when we talked about freedom of navigation on the seas, we were also talking about the South China Sea. Not so directly. We expressed our intentions to be an active player in the regional affairs. India probably has to now start playing an active role in the regional affairs. That means in the present day global context, because that region is the most important developing region. Last point that I would like to make, when we decide to play a role in that region, it's not because we have to checkmate somebody. Some people may think that you are saying this because you want to checkmate China. No. China is a big country. China is our neighbor. China-India relations also have seen a new dawn in the last couple of years. A new understanding has developed in between our two countries. And President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi enjoy good personal understanding. These things matter in international relations. So we will have good relations like with all the neighbors including China. But when we talk about playing a proactive role in the region, the last realization should be that this region needs lot of stabilizing effort to be undertaken. A rule-based world if you want. A global order that is run on justice and rules. The test case will be the Indian Ocean region. Today, global institutions look helpless in the region. Global rules are violated with impunity. When you want to play a role, you have to be aware of the situation. So the effort should be Engagement wherever possible. We have to engage with all the powers wherever it is possible, wherever it is required. But also a determination to stand up wherever required. Today, in our region, this determination is what is lacking. In the global order, this is what is lacking today, to stand up when required. I will give you just one example and end. When there was Soviet Union, when it became a very powerful country in the region, Eastern Europe and large parts of Asia, the West stood up. Record the history, read the history. It's not that they did not have relations. It's not that they did not talk to each other. But the international forums were used, or certain preferential agreements, preferential what they call as PTAs and all that they create. They were used to stand up to certain actions that are against the peaceful global order. There was a conviction that no, this should not happen. There were forces which were ready to stand up. Friends, the realization today is, that determination doesn't seem to be there. What appears mostly is efforts to appease. When there is any challenge, appease them. Please the countries. North Korea can do anything. You will at the most issue a statement. You will not do anything beyond that because you cannot do anything beyond that. You know who is behind North Korea. You have to do business. So, appease them. So, this is the kind of situation that we are facing today in South China Sea. 5 artificial islands were formed. It goes against the international law. Everybody knows. But nothing will happen. 2007, China decided to destroy one of its satellites. वो मर जाना था, उसका टाइम हो गया. It wanted to destroy. What China did was, I hope many of you remember that. Yeah. What it did was simply use a ballistic missile to blast it. Not bothering about what will happen to that other traffic. You know, today the most, on Sundays also a lot of traffic is there in the space today. Probably in Washington, in Virginia, Sundays at least roads are free. There it's not there, round the clock it is busy. That time the logic given by the great international agencies was, no, we did not have any rules for outer space, traffic control. We did not have any rules. 2007 to 2017, 10 years have passed, we have done nothing. That's why I'm saying, today, that determination to stand up for rule-based world order is not there. So, that is the scenario. These are the realizations which you have to keep in mind when we talk about India's role in the world, India-US relations. India is trying to play a proactive role in this given scenario with these realizations in mind. And there we were having an informal get-together at Nitinji's place just before this event. So there one friend raised this issue of this new government putting pressure on India, etc., etc. I just want to tell you that those days of pressurizing India are over. Nobody can pressure us. And at least we have a leader. We have a prime minister who cannot be pressurized by anybody in India, much less by anybody outside. India will be guided by India's interests. In that, yes, our relationship with the US is very important. We will nurture it, we will take it forward, but we have certain regional realizations about which I talked before you. We will be keeping those realizations also in mind while formulating our future, a proactive role. As I said, when Prime Minister Modi said this in his statement, President Obama in his statement said, US recognizes India's ambition to grow as an influential and responsible world power. This is what Obama's response was. He used two phrases, two words: influential and responsible world power. And the word used was ambition. India's ambition to grow as an influential, responsible world power. Yes, we have that ambition. We know the regional scenario. We have the realizations. In that, our relationship with US is going to be a very important relationship. Friends, thank you for your patience.